Surely you have seen many videos of actors who've been in prison. It's rather more common than it might first appear. But what you may not know is that many of them had a really hard time. For real life is not Hollywood. And in real prisons, torture, mockery and humiliation are part of everyday life. Now, if you don't want to end up like that, I guarantee that if you subscribe to this channel, you will always live free. And if you leave a comment telling us which actor you would like to see in prison and why, your dear friend Celeb Highlights will thank you for life. And now, without further ado, yes, let the show begin. Winona Ryder, the popular interpreter of Stranger Things or Beetlejuice, went from being one of the actresses of the 90s to being known as the actress who was caught shoplifting on Wilshire Boulevard. In 2001, she stole $5,500 worth of merchandise, and among the items she took were a Marc Jacobs sweater and Donna Karan socks. Ryder admitted the offences and ended up in prison for a few days, where the rest of the inmates took advantage of the opportunity to steal her socks and pants and even underwear after seeing the images of Winona swiping products on TV. And the mockery intensified. They even returned her clothes full of spit, as if they had just seen that ridiculous movie where Winona rejected the great Adam Sandler. How can you reject Sandler? I thought everyone loved that garbage. Anyway, Winona is out of prison and she's a renewed reformed woman, but she still gets into a panic, an absolute panic, at the thought of setting foot in a clothing store again. And that's why, like me, she buys all her wardrobe on AliExpress. Russell Crowe, the guy who went from gladiator to marvelous mind to obese middle-aged man in just a few years, was arrested for throwing a phone at an employee of the hotel where he was staying. Apparently, the actor was trying to call one of his beloved French girls, but couldn't get through. Furious, he went down to reception and took it out on a 28-year-old concierge, who ended up with injuries to his face. It was one of those events that took place between 1995 and 2005 that gave Russell a reputation for aggression. No doubt, the inmates, who would have had a similar mentality to those who spat in Winona Ryder's underwear, well, when they heard about it, they were rubbing their hands with glee. And upon arriving in prison, Russell was involved in several fights, and the actor was mocked by imitations of the legendary Joaquin Phoenix in the role of Emperor by making the popular thumbs-down gesture every time Crowe received a beating. Fortunately, his manager earned his cut and managed to get Russell out of the fights fast. And now he's a happy, obese, refreshed man. Matthew McConaughey, Lance Armstrong's best friend, was arrested in 1999 for displaying himself, just as Dr. Michele Ferrari could have brought him into the world, and he did this on an Austin street. This crime happened in a way that would make a movie scene. The actor was at home, enjoying African music, wearing a thong in the shape of a dried leaf, while under the effects of doping substances that Lance might have provided for him. Matthew had been partying for 32 hours straight and needed to relax. But then suddenly some policemen appeared at his house and handcuffed him. And although they tried to cover him up as he left the apartment, the actor was having none of it. He tried to escape from them with a Houdini-style move, as he describes it himself. But he didn't even get to appear in an Eminem video clip. Rather, he ended up in jail, with a great story to tell, but unfortunately while there, they kept insulting him, calling him a doper, and a friend of a doper, and an accomplice of a doper, and an accessory of a doper, and an ass-kisser of a doper. Since then, he's been thinking about making a movie all about this horrible event. Who could blame him? Haley Joel Osment, this forgotten actor, was very famous in the 90s and early 2000s for his role as the Kid in The Sixth Sense, or the Kid in Artificial Intelligence, and the Kid in Forrest Gump. But he was arrested in 2006 after a car accident, one which left him with a fractured rib and a fractured leg. He committed the offence of driving under the influence of alcohol and the possession of medicinal herbs. And it happened when he had not yet turned 21, the legal drinking age in the United States, which only made matters worse. But then what made matters even worse was when the inmates took away the crutches that Haley was carrying during his recovery, and they were shouting, "Run, Forrest, run!" as if this poor man was Tom Hanks playing the intellectually disabled hero. Life in prison left him with all kinds of after-effects, sequels aplenty, and poor Haley is currently more obese than Russell Crowe himself, which is really saying something. So we at this channel can only encourage him, give him a pat on the back and encourage him to run. But also we can give hugs and kisses to all those who give a good like to this video. I am convinced that you, yes, you there, yes, you are one of them, I know. Lindsay Lohan, Disney's umpteenth broken toy, could star in a series based on her life, especially when it comes to those episodes full of drugs and alcohol and parties with billionaire sheikhs who will pay to satisfy her every whim. This sugar baby comes from a broken family and her childhood was plagued with problems, which may explain much of her adult life. But she remains a great performer. I bought into her sweetness when I saw her dance to Jingle Bell Rock in the popular high school movie Mean Girls. But ever since she was rejected by the cute guy in that movie, she had problems, with the large amount of money that she was earning only adding to them, especially given her tendency to addiction. She has been arrested several times for DUI and the possession of medicinal herbs. She's been in and out of rehab several times, and while in there they kept imitating her driving, claiming that Herbie was going so fast because he sped up every time he crossed that thin white line that Lindsay was enjoying on the road. Harsh words that Lindsay now recalls in her Netflix family movies. But that wasn't the worst of it. She also had to put up with men coming up to her with all sorts of epithets related to her acting abilities in the world of nightlife. However, in other parts of the world, situations can be even harsher. Ok So-ri, this South Korean actress, had to endure an 8-month jail sentence for cheating on her husband, Park Chul. And she did it with a popular opera singer friend of her spouse. In South Korea, this was a crime until 2015, and the events that convicted So-ri took place in 2008. She was not forced to go to prison, but she was put in the men's prison for one day, so that everyone could enjoy her acting skills. The problem was that these Korean men had not seen an actress in years, and so many of them tried to assault the adulterous performer. Fortunately, Ok So-ri was able to get out of there alive and in one piece, but understandably to this day she still has nightmares of that night in a filthy Korean prison. "At least they didn't treat me like Alex Zuller," she declared shortly afterwards. Now, in short, if you don't want to end up like these cute people, turn on the little bell and subscribe to the channel, or you'll be chased by those Korean men who've already got out of prison. Oh, and stop by the video on the screen. You know you'll enjoy it, and it's free.